and welcome back to the Rugby Connection podcast, the only fan-run podcast to get all the ins and outs of the rugby world. Well, if you're watching us on YouTube this week, we're actually on a different channel, and I'll get to our host in a minute. Obviously, Proud Irishman's back once again. Andy, how are you, mate?
Good, mate. How are you?
I'm good. I'm very good. Lots of rugby, but joining us because of all the rugby to cover, he is the face of CasualBias Rugby on TikTok. He is the mastermind behind Casual Rugby on YouTube, which is where we're doing this episode. Divan, how you getting on, mate?
Oh, all good. It's been a while. Thank you very much for having me on. I appreciate it. Thank you, Andy. Yeah, let's get into it. Proper weekend of rugby. That's what I got from this weekend. Absolute belters all around. Beautiful.
Yeah. No bad games in sight. Well, because it's semi-finals. And I want to call it European rugby, but I can't because we're getting wonders. I'll call it continental rugby. There we go. So, Challenge Cup semi-finals did not disappoint. Saturday afternoon at Twickenham Stoop. Love it or hate it if it was at the Stoop. Doesn't matter because this game stole the show. Sharks into the final, beating Clermont 32-31 with a comeback as well. Who doesn't love a comeback? I'll let the proud South African take over for this game though.
Absolute belter. That's how you win a game in true South African fashion. 1 point victory, beating the French once again. We love doing that. Just feels like home. That is what I took from that game. It's like because the Sharks have so many South Africans, it's like they finally decided let's be South Africans and actually start playing in the second half. They got smashed in the first half. In typical South African fashion, I will bring up there was a couple of shocking decisions. And I'm if you watch the game, you would definitely agree with me. But what a performance by the boys. And it's a shambles that the Sharks, who I've been slating all season, might be the only South African team going home with silverware. That is blasphemy to the highest order.
It's a weird time because it's like they needed that Challenge Cup to get something out this season because the UFC was a write-off at Christmas, really, for them. But talking of the box, even Etzebeth, rolling back the years, it wasn't even an enforcer role, just silky smooth.
Yeah.
Great. Out of the back passes, catching high balls, big hits. Awesome. Mapimpi, again, rolling back the years, had a very quiet season, I'd like to think. And then afterburners, gas for days in the corner. But the man of the match, the one I want to see in a Springboks jersey, Saya Masuku. Oh my God. 8 from 8 on the kicking tee. Unreal talent. I believe it's his 4th player of the match in a row. He's just unreal. And get him in the famous green goal. Come on now.
What's the view on him back home?
A lot of hype. Like a crazy amount of hype. Obviously, he shares the name with the great Siya Kolisi. But four man of the match performances, and I think that's almost still underrating him because when he came in, he didn't initially get the man of the match performances, but he still was a standout performer. If you want to talk about a player that really comes in and makes a difference, he's totally rejuvenated the way that backline flows. Because we always saw it, and there was a lot of hype around Kerwin Bosch when he grew up and stuff, but he never really cut it at the Sharks. You can see the talent, but there's no consistency. What Masuku has brought to that is a calmness, and he just reads the game perfectly. He's not afraid to take the risks. He reminds me, this is a bold shout, but he kind of reminds me of the way that Finn Russell plays, just that style of play in terms of taking the risk, carries the ball well, reads the game well. I'm not saying he is Finn Russell, because that guy is class, but he's absolutely scintillating. Now, I would love, especially with the South African boys, not all eligible to go and play Wales in Twickenham. I would love to see him carry that 10 jersey that game. What's your opinion been on him, Andy, or on the Sharks overall?
I mean, I thought they'd win at the weekend, but I couldn't watch the first half. I switched it on at halftime. I was like, wow, I couldn't believe they'd gotten blown out of it in the first half. And is it the 7 for Clermont, the absolute giant in the back row? He had a class first half. I was looking at the highlights, and you just thought, like, surely the Sharks are going to come back into this. And then as the second half wore on, when you just see the scrum pressure, when you see, like, the fact that the Sharks, early part of the second half, like, they were still making mistakes with the ball. Like, they were still coughing it up. It wasn't quite coming together. But the fact that they were able to just keep coming, you know, Claremont couldn't wrestle that momentum back. And it really felt like it turned, you know, the disallowed try for Claremont, the rightly disallowed try, where he knocked it into Lacaniuam on the touchline. He knocked it on and then picked it up and kind of ran in. They thought, Claremont, they thought they'd won it. That was it. And after that, the Sharks just like, it was just a stranglehold after that. Claremont just couldn't get on it.
It felt near the end of the last 15 to 20 minutes, like the Sharks were really playing against tired bodies. Like Claremont just didn't look like they had any breathing time for breathing anymore. Like they really felt like they got smothered at the end. They were on the ropes for so long. A lot of the times the Sharks felt like they could have gotten over the line to score some tries, but they just couldn't get over the line. And then at the end, they started being clinical, really took their opportunities, and just the confidence of them running the ball from anywhere and really backing the quality that they have in that team was scintillating.
They knew they had them gassed, didn't they? Like they knew the spirit was gone. Like, and one of the commentators even said Claremont's not a team for the last 20 minutes. Like they always fade towards the end of games.
I was just about to say that. Even Benjamin Kaiser on commentary, now he's a Claremont man through and through. And he was saying that, like, if rugby was a 70-minute game, Claremont would be in the top 6 in the top 14. That's how bad they are in the last 10. They're currently 10th in the top 14 and obviously out of the Challenge Cup. But just before we move on to the other semi-final, another Sharks player I'd like to see get a Springboks caught, Pepsi Buthelezi. Oh, my God. Big fan of him. I was very impressed with his work rate on and off the ball. Yeah, Rossi, come on. Just do the right thing. Even if it's just against Wales and Twickenham. Come on, man.
Yeah, he's been a standout for a couple of years. You've always heard his name brought up a couple of times. But the issue is, and it's a sad thing, but it's a good problem to have. When you look at our flanks and our 8th men, that is tough guys to knock off their position. If you just look at the likes of Siya Kolisi, Pieter-Steph du Toit, and then Duane Vermeulen. Obviously, Duane Vermeulen's gone now. Who do you knock off there for Pepsi Buthelezi to come in? Then obviously you've got Evan Roos coming through, Jasper Wiese coming through, Cameron Hanekom, and a ton of other guys, all putting their names up. Obviously, Jean-Luc Dupree always been there, but never got the nod, just because it's so tough to knock those guys off where they are at the moment. So, I mean, you would love to see him same WhatsApp group as Masuku. I want to see him play against Wales. There you go.
Just even if it's just the one game, I don't care. I want to see them once. I've been saying it all season as well. I want to see Tyrone Green. We were talking about him for a while, but again, I can't see that happening. But anyway, the other semi-final for the Challenge Cup at Kingsholm was a bit more comfortable. The Cherry and White is getting a famous victory over Benetton, 40 points to 23. And even with a yellow card, Zach Mercer stole the show. He's an absolute freak of nature. His offload game was sensational for a back rower. His work rate, just attacking, his defending, he's ticking all the boxes, and you can tell he plays with a point to prove. I've said it all season. He came back to England on essentially what is a broken promise. Wasn't his fault that Eddie Jones got binned in December, and then Steve Borthwick just wasn't interested because he had other players in mind. But Zach Mercer is severely knocking down that door. Even if you have him off the bench against New Zealand, come on, he's right there. He fills that gap that Jack Willis can't, because you can't pick Jack Willis. And then you've got Ben Earl, Zach Mercer in the back row together. That'd be nice. But yeah, Gloucester, unreal. Shout out to Freddie Clark. Big man interception from about 30 metres out, and a less elegant swan dive, but it was still I'd like to see. Fair play to him. Wasn't all doom and gloom for Benetton. Reno Smith was fantastic. Friend of the show as well. Always nice to shout that out.
South Africans.
God to praise the South Africans. Not just because you're here. Just they're everywhere in every team, and they're all good. Lucchesi coming off the bench, getting 2 tries. I felt Menoncello was a bit too quiet. I felt Brex, out of the 2, Brex had the better game, but Menoncello just couldn't seem to get things clicking. But can't take anything away from Gloucester. Adam Hastings scoring 17 points. It was great to see. I've already mentioned Zach Mercer and Freddie Clark. Shout out to Josh Hathaway, 20 years old, fullback, scored a hat-trick against Saracens a few weeks ago, scored again this weekend. Bright future ahead. Definitely, maybe even a bolter for this summer too. Who knows? But yeah, London Calling, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, Sharks, Gloucester. That's going to be tasty. We don't need to predict it now. Got a few weeks to wait, but yeah, I'm excited for that for sure.
Do you know, it's interesting. All over European competitions, much bigger English presence this year. Like
yes.
the feel good factor is back. The clubs are looking much much stronger. To have 2 in the semis of the Champions Cup and now 1 in the final of the Challenge Cup, it's looking good for them.
It's not all done and
Gloucester showing like a bad season in the Premiership doesn't tell the whole story. Sometimes, you know,
Exactly.
there's still something in that team.
Obviously,
Yeah, the Sharks are saying the exact same thing.
Yeah, very true.
Do
you know?
I love that.
With the Sharks, though, there's so many Springboks in the Sharks. It's like if they have a bad season, in my head, that's you just write it off. You just say, all right, something's gone wrong. With Gloucester, it's like Mercer obviously is the superstar, and Adam Hastings is a very good player, but it's not like they're full of internationals. You know, you don't look at that squad and think, well, that's a massive underachievement, but it's brilliant for them to get to the final.
Yeah, I obviously we don't get like the broadcasting rights really to the Prem. Every now and again we see some games. I think we see like 1 or 2 games maybe per weekend. So obviously I haven't seen too much of Gloucester, but I knew about Zach Mercer and he blew me away this weekend. That guy's sensational. That's the first game that I've watched of Gloucester. I'll be open and honest about it because, as I just said, we don't get to see it. But that guy is different gravy. The way he just controls the game. And after that match, I was like, how has this guy not really played for England? Because I've heard previously that Ben Earl can play 6, and I think the 6s of England aren't that good. So you can put in Ben Earl at 6 and throw Zach Mercer on 8. That is deadly, because all of a sudden you've got Ben Earl, Tom Curry, or Ben Curry, whoever, and Zach Mercer. That is freakish.
Joel as well, he's always good. Like even when Gloucester are getting pumped in Premiership games, he's always good himself. But do you think it's just that because of the media attention, Borthwick kind of feels like he just can't pick him now? Because it's going to feel like caving to...
I don't know what it is with England coaches doing this. It happens all the time. I think like when Eddie Jones first took over, Cipriani was like the best 10 in the Prem. And he went, nah, it's 5. Sam Simmons had to become a British and Irish Lion to then get an England call. You know how mental that actually is, just to put that out there. Zach Mercer essentially getting told, please come back to England, you'll be in the World Cup squad. But then Eddie Jones got sacked before the World Cup and Steve Borthwick went, I'm not interested.
Too flashy? Is he too flashy for Borthwick? Is that what it is? Does he do too much?
How can you do too much?
Look, it seems like a crazy reason to leave him out, but like maybe he's worried about high risk plays. I don't know.
But that's ridiculous to have that sort of stubbornness in your management. Like you want the best players. Who's going to be the best 8 or who's going to be the best in the team? Zach Mercer plays in a shit team and he's always the standout player. Like seriously. I'm not even an England fan. I like the fact that he's not playing. It would make them better if he played. And as you know, South Africans love playing the English. It's juicy. Yeah. I always walk home with a smile. So the longer he doesn't play for them, the happier I'll be.
Well, so I've been asked this a few times about Zach Mercer. I keep saying no because how I think of eligibility, it goes like one way or the other. So Zach Mercer studied in Scotland. His whole high school, he was up here. He played for Scotland under 16s, but he has not been back like since. And everyone's like, yeah, but because it's been like he played here for 10 years, that counts. I'm like, does it just continue on? I was not aware.
So.
I don't think it does. No. You have to be in the country or have relatives. I feel like that's how it works, but
I don't think you can bank 5 years from your teenage years and say, "Yep, I'm ready, lads."
That's what I was like. I don't think that counts, but some people say no, it doesn't. Some people say yeah, it does. I wouldn't mind seeing that.
Mate, he'd add a lot if they could get him in. He would add a lot.
You'd get a very young back row with Andy Christie, Zach Mercer, and Roy Darge.
Mate, that sounds
crazy to me. And it wouldn't be the first time we've poached talent, and it won't be the last one. It's all good. Anyway. Champions Cup, the pinnacle of club rugby. Again, did not disappoint. I'm going to give it to Andy for the first game because Croke Park, 82,000. Leinster, Northampton Saints, 20 points to 17. Oof.
Yeah, we definitely got away with one. We definitely got away with one. We were very good first half, though. Like, there's been a lot of doom and gloom online about Leinster's performance since the weekend. First half, they really were good. Like, they didn't let Northampton get any momentum at all. They had that one chance where if Ram had taken that one in the corner where the pass was behind him and he kind of spun and moved it from one hand to the other, that would have been like one of the great Champions Cup finishes, I think. But he was just unlucky that he couldn't take it. But, you know, intensity first half was brilliant. That defensive line speed was brilliant. Whatever you think about Matthew Raynal and how he manages the ruck, we were all over them in the first half. And then second half, that just completely turned around. But I mean, it's difficult when you're at the game, right? Because you're so caught up in the emotion and you've only got one view of everything. But to me, from where we were sitting in the second half, it just looked like we couldn't exit. Like, our two kicking options were Ross Byrne and James Lowe. The more I watch James Lowe, I'm so convinced when he kicks the ball, he has absolutely no idea where it's going to go. He just smashes it as hard as he possibly can. And he's that good that most of the time it works out. But when we're under a bit of pressure and he's got to rush it, it can get a bit loose. And the same thing happened with Byrne. And I mean, we were just lucky in the end they weren't as clinical as they could have been because, you know, we won some huge penalties on our own line. There were a few moments where, because if they had scored their first points earlier and they had an extra 5 minutes to try and pull something out of the bag at the end, I reckon they would have done it because we were out on our feet. We were goosed.
I've had a few people in the comments over on TikTok say that like, again, like what you said, if Saints started better, it'd be a totally different game. Or if I think it was like if there was 5 minutes left of that game, Saints would have found a turnover and managed to bag the points. But
I was kind of convinced that Saints were going to do it at the end. I thought they're going to get a penalty and it's going to be one of those Finn Smith beauties smack down the middle. And then we have a draw where it's just like 1 point to play. And I was pretty convinced of this. And I'll give credit to Leinster for still holding out on the victory. Obviously, they had a massive lead that they had to defend. But when you're under so much pressure, defending for so long, those 3 points, that was admirable. I do banter Leinster a lot, but they still did enough to get over the line. I don't know how Saints were still in the game come 60 minutes.
Yeah.
Because they got smashed. And that's to say it nicely. They got absolutely railed in this game. Like some of the biggest hits that I've ever seen. And then just the mindset of them to say, listen, this game's not over. We're going to come out and actually play some rugby. Augustus.
Oh,
he's
mate.
so good.
Should I mention where he's from? Should I mention what position he plays? There's another one. We just spoke about Evan Roos and even Daimani and those guys. Augustus, what a season he's having. Absolute steamroller. Gas, puts a grubber through, runs away from the backs. Like the guy's insane. Courtney Laws. How many we saw it with Aaron Smith saying, listen, I'm going to retire. Plays the best World Cup, best rugby that we've ever seen. Yeah. Laws doing the exact same thing. I think both teams can go with the head held high to some perspectives, but I do also believe Leinster should be shitting themselves after watching that Harlequins game because, wow.
Well, we'll get into that because 5 stars for a reason.
Yeah.
In the hunt.
Can I say one thing about Leinster before we move on?
Yes.
I do think Leinster teams in previous years would have lost that game. It would have gone on at the end. The capitulation would have been complete. They just had a little bit of extra edge, right? They won enough of those little battles that slowed Northampton down in the second half. Because like once Northampton decided like we're going for broke, they were so good. Like the amount of their players that so good to watch in the second half. Like Finn Smith had a pretty good game the whole game, to be fair. Alex Mitchell absolutely came alive for like the 15 minutes he was on the field where Saints were playing well. Like Augustus, like you said, was brilliant. Courtney Laws was amazing, just winning turnovers, just smashing people in the last 20 minutes. So when they go for broke, they are so dangerous. Like I wonder if that's going to be the takeaway they have. It's like maybe we shouldn't be as cautious with the game plan. Yeah, maybe we should just throw it around and go for it. Because when they played with a bit of desperation, they were amazing.
And it's most likely that Jacques Nienaber mentality.
That's what I was going to say.
Mentality, proper defensive work. That's what it took at the end. It was like proper. I know I'm just taking the piss with the Jacques Nienaber thing, but like he was always renowned for us in being brilliant when it comes to defense. And that is really what won the game for Leinster at the end.
But that's why we brought him in. Like edge. That was the thing that everybody could see was missing in that team. Like the machine. Yeah, the machine of the team works really well. Like the systems work really well, but we were a little lacking defensively, and it felt like we always got edged out in really tight games. And that's a semi-final with like the atmosphere in the first half of Croke Park was amazing, but in the second half, everyone was shitting it. And that obviously transfers down to the players, and you can feel this like expectation of 80,000 people. And in the last 5 minutes, I was there with my parents. And my mum just turned, yeah, it was lovely. But my mum just turned around to me with 5 minutes to go, and she was like, "They're going to lose, and we're all just going to have to go home." And I was like, please no. Because like the way the atmosphere would have been sucked out of that stadium, it would have been horrible. But
yeah. Can I just mention something before we move on? Like I know I banter Ireland a lot and stuff, but I really admire 82,300 people in one stadium. We all talk about how to grow the game and how to get more eyes on the game. When you have a situation like this and you get so many people in to watch a franchise game, not even an international game. Now, I know it's a European Cup semi-final and stuff, but it's not supposed to stack 82,000 people. That feels like an international game. Just the proper rugby advertisement it's just a proper advertisement for the game, for this beautiful game that we all love. To get 82,000 into the stadiums is admirable, and it's beautiful. Like we talk about it, like the Stormers and the Bulls always get 60,000. Can't even dream about getting 84,000 or 83,000, whatever. That is sensational, and I love that.
It's definitely a good advert for rugby. Actually, one more thing I forgot to say, not about the game, just more praise for the team themselves. Just remember, Northampton Saints didn't win a single European game last year.
Yeah.
Last season. They were bottom of their group. No chance of even thinking about knockout rugby. And following season, they're in the semi-final. Unreal. Massive respect to the coaching staff and the players for never giving up. But, yeah, 5 stars for a reason over in France. Toulouse do what Toulouse do. It was a bit tougher in the second half, but the first half, I mean, Antoine Dupont, 2 tries in 4 minutes. Pia Aki just caused an absolute rough shot in the midfield. Matthias Labelle scoring a beautiful try to open the account. Paul Coates, nobody talks about him. Get him in that French team.
He's young, isn't he? He's like he looks good.
Very special talent, one for the future. Jack Willis.
Mavaka looked like the Mavaka from the World Cup.
Yeah, he was good again, wasn't he?
Yeah, Mavaka was special, but Jack Willis, I've lost count of how many times me and Andy mention him week to week.
So good.
Just change the rules for him, and that's it. You could have Ben Earl, Jack Willis, and Zach Mercer as your back row. England, pull your finger out, because that's dangerous. That's a dangerous back row. But, yeah, Quinn's never say die attitude. Caden Murray with almost a rugby league-esque finish in the corner to start off the second half. Tyrone Green, again, get him in a Springbok jersey, splitting the defence, scoring a great try. Marcus Smith controlling the tempo. And then Jack Walker decides to get yellow carded because you're not allowed to hit the point in the head. We've all established that. It's a no-go. And then, even when there was still a sniff of it, Joe Marler decided just to slap Thomas Ramos square in the head for no fucking reason. It was hilarious.
How many times they showed that on the replays, but they never showed the Intermark tackle again. Like people,
I've heard about this. Yeah,
it's ridiculous. It's blatant robbery. Like seriously, I'm not saying it would have affected the game, right? But by the laws of the game, that ends up being a yellow card.
Yep.
Harlequins had the momentum. This game could have been even tighter than it already is. The scoreboard doesn't reflect the game. Obviously, Toulouse scored that try at the end just to seal the deal. But this game could have been turned straight on its head. 5-point game with Intermark off the field, and he had a good game. So
and mate, I completely agree. It's hard enough playing away in rugby, and particularly in Europe. Going somewhere like France is always really, really difficult. You don't also need the TV infrastructure to be stacked against you. Like you need something to be fair. Like you're behind on everything else. They've got the crowd, they've got the knowledge of the stadium, they're feeling more comfortable than you. It's like it's like an amateurish thing to have to deal
Yeah.
with. It's like, oh, we don't have, the French commentator's not, or the French director's not going to show it. Like, that's ridiculous.
So
I agree.
stupid.
I don't know if they would have won the game from it, but
What
it's
I
something they
want,
need to fix.
what I want to know, just because we've seen the picture on social media after it, Blair Kinghorn's nose.
Yeah. How did that happen?
What happened? He never came off. He started to film that. Thomas Ramos
He's
came
Walker
on.
Smith's brother now.
It's like, oh, but you know what? It was quite funny because Adam Hastings also shared it because obviously quite close friends. And the picture on Adam Hastings' show is like a FaceTime chat, and Adam Hastings is just pissing himself laughing because we've got tape right up here. It's all black eyes, tape, like
Oof.
like the diamond right across the nose. I don't know what he did. It looked terrific.
Yeah.
And
Murray, I
yeah,
just wanted to add something in terms of what the broadcasting or the camera work and stuff with the replays. I loved how the commentators didn't take any of that bullshit. Like they called it out and they were like, "Oh, I wonder why they're not going to show it again. We are used to this by now." Like I don't know if we get the same commentary when it comes to stuff, because obviously when our teams play, we get like the South African commentators. I'm not sure what you get. But I love the fact that they actually called it out, because obviously most people are media trained and stuff, so they don't call people out. They just say the normal thing. Same with press conferences where you see coaches say, "Oh, it's a strong team. We'll give it our best," or whatever. It's boring. Where this commentators, I don't know who it was, could have been Andy Good for all I care. They called it out.
There's Austin Healy because he never holds back. Austin Healy.
No. He's
gets
really
like,
good.
"Look."
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I really appreciated it that he actually called it out,
Yeah.
because that was brilliant. I feel that is kind of what's needed when it comes to cases like this. But anyway, yeah, just wanted to add that.
No, it was a good point to make. So yeah, there's your final. A 10-star match. Leinster seeking number 5. Toulouse going for number 6. First and second seed. It's written in the stars. London awaits, and I cannot wait. And I can't get tickets because they sold out too quick. I have been sitting on it. It's my own fault. I've shot myself in the foot. I've been piss arsing about for it for about 2 months. I was like, right, when I get money, I'm going to get a weekend ticket because I think the cheapest one was £90. I have family down in London. I could have stayed there. I got a £20 flight. Would have been really easy. And I was like, right, I've now got money. I'll get my ticket. But the Leinster fans took all the tickets.
You got to do it before the Irish get there, mate. You got to do it.
Get a ticket to the Champions Cup final. Can still get a ticket to the Challenge Cup final, but I'm not.
When did the tickets even open for this thing?
They've been on sale all year.
Last year. Yeah. So guess what I'm doing? See, the minute they're on sale for next year, I'm getting the tickets sorted. No
Probably a good
question.
idea.
You see, that's the issue with us. Like, if there was a South African team, we can't get there because we need to go through visas and stuff first.
Yeah.
Pay about a flight ticket to get a visa. It's ridiculous.
That's so stupid, yeah. So that's the final. That's both finals, both in London, both tasty fixtures for the end of May. But before all that, we're going back to the domestics because it's still heating up. It's all to play for. We've got the Prem, where it is so tight between 3rd and 8th. Even the teams below that could affect it in some way or the other. So let's predict it. Friday Night Lights, Sale Sharks, hosting Leicester Tigers. I'm going to go Sale Sharks, just. Because we spoke about this last week. They lost to the Ospreys, and it felt like their main focus was the Prem. I still think that's the case. So, yeah.
They have a tough run in, right? Because they've got, I mean, Leicester at home, you'd expect them to win reasonably comfortably, but then they've got to go away to Sarries on the final day. So they have to not just win this week, but they kind of need to batter Leicester. Yeah. Put themselves in a good mind frame.
2 weeks left, all to play for. Devin,
I think they will batter them for what it's worth.
Do you think they'll batter Tigers? Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Boys, I do not watch the Prem, but I've got certain people that would hate me if I said Sale lose. So I'm going to say Sale win this game against Leicester Tigers, even though I would like to back the Tigers because they have the most Safas. But I just think overall... Hey?
I knew that was coming.
Yeah. Actually, for a South African
I'm going
fan,
against them. So just like switched it up a bit.
But
Okay.
Sale and Leicester is kind of the nightmare scenario for South African fan,
Oh,
isn't it?
same,
Because
isn't
they're
it?
peppered in both teams.
Yeah. Correct.
Another Friday Night Lights up in the Toon. Newcastle versus Bath. Can Newcastle finally get a win? No,
Nope.
they cannot. And I'm not trying to be nasty. Bath are pushing hard to get into this top 4 for the semi-finals and then potential final. And I don't think Newcastle's going to be that team to stop them. They have not won all season in the Premiership.
It's been rough.
I'm just
is
looking at the
very low.
table for the first time.
Yeah.
What is
Not
going on
great.
in this thing? What the hell? 16 games, 0 wins.
Yeah.
Wow. Throw the jersey on the ground and burn it.
Gee. But yeah, Bath.
Yeah,
comfortably
Bath,
won.
for sure.
Next game, we have a finalist and a semi-finalist. Northampton Saints host Gloucester. That's going to be a very tasty game. But it's in the Prem. Saints are getting a big win. They're going to be pissed as well.
There'll be a
How many
reaction.
games are
won't
still
there?
left in this thing?
Only 2.
2 more rounds, including this weekend. So all to play for, though. Yeah, Saints cruising in the Prem, top of the table for a reason. Yeah. And they just lost a European semi-final. They're not going to be pleased. So, big win, I expect.
We're thinking both of them play rotated teams.
I don't think Saints will rotate.
I don't think Saints can afford to.
No, Gloucester has nothing. Gloucester has nothing to play for, so they'll play a rotated team because they'll just focus on.
I wonder.
No, I think they might go full work for this game, and then maybe ease off next week. Because then you can progress in the players.
Well, either way, they're either losing by much or by much more.
Okay, fair enough. That's a good answer. Down at Ashton Gate, Bristol Bears hosting Saracens. Now, since the Six Nations, Bristol have been absolutely flying. The Saracens are still in that mix, and they've got nothing else to lose, so they're going to play all their big lads at the same time. I don't like Saracens. I've never had that fact. I've said it like every week. I'm going Bristol. Why not? Go for it.
Okay.
It'll be fun.
I'm definitely going Sarries. Just the type of team Bristol are. Like Sarries are the perfect game plan to just frustrate them and make life difficult for them. And I think Sarries getting that win against Bath last week was massive.
To be fair, it wouldn't surprise me if Saracens win. I just really don't. I think I'm predicting Newcastle to beat them at the start of the season as well. It is.
Yeah. No, I think Sarries all the way.
Fair.
I'll agree.
Oh, come on, man. I think you're better than that.
No, it's just like, obviously, don't watch too much about it, but it's like Saracens know when to win when it matters. And that's just a big thing. Obviously, they know their spot's not secured yet. I'm looking at this. It's like a 2-point gap between them and who's ever 5th and 6th. And I'm guessing that's then you don't play home anymore. You have to be top 4, right?
Top 4. But it's only top 2 play at home. So you need
you go straight into semi-finals. Yeah, obviously, no, they're winning this game. Everything matters. So they're winning this game quite comfortably. I'm going Saracens by 24.
Jesus. Okay.
Yeah, smash them. Feral
to be fair, wouldn't surprise me. But I can't.
Me either, to be honest.
27-3.
Jeez, man.
Oh, I think Bristol will score.
Bristol score. Come on.
Yeah.
34-7.
There we go. Final game for round 17 of the Prem at Sandy Park. Exeter Chiefs versus Quins. Straight out of the way, back your team as always. Exeter Chiefs for the win. Come on, boys, because we need to win every game. Big time. That's going to be a great game, regardless. It's always fun. Chiefs versus Quins.
I think Chiefs will win. Quins are going to have to rest some players. Quins have played a full first team for like 6 weeks in a row. And they've got Bristol at home on the final day. So if you're Quins and you're targeting one of those games, you're targeting the Bristol game.
Targeting Bristol, yeah.
So I think Exeter win this weekend.
Okay.
Yeah, could be because that Bristol game is an 8-point game. That's because you're taking away and you're adding to your tally. So, but I'm still going to back Harlequins. I'll go all favourites because that's the easiest way to predict something that you don't know.
It's a safe bet. It's fair. Nothing wrong with that.
By the way, Just quickly on the Prem, if this weekend Chiefs and Sale both win and Bristol and Quins both lose, that final day is going to be absolutely massive. That's going to be everybody in with a shot. You know, some of the favorites could even drop out. I can't wait for that.
Has this been one of the best years for the Prem in recent years, you would say?
Yeah, definitely.
And how's the crowds been? Because I know the crowd people always talk a bit of smack when it comes to the crowds of the Prem, but the stadiums have been looking pretty full, in my opinion. Obviously, they don't carry as much people that our stadiums necessarily do, but still, it feels like it's stacked. There's an atmosphere, and there's a bit of hype around the Prem, and it doesn't feel like we've seen so many low score games like we always criticize them for.
Yeah.
I think
it's really competitive.
Sorry, Andy, you go.
Oh, so I was just gonna say it's really competitive. The game's like, you know, quality is not always as high, but entertainment value is always super high.
Never a dull moment in the Prem. I think in hindsight, because obviously at the start of the season, 3 teams went into administration last year. Very doom and gloom. What's next for English rugby? You know what? 10-team league works.
Well, you know what's happened? All the good players except Jack Willis.
And
Arundel. All of the good players just went to the other clubs, and all the top teams got stronger. So Gloucester and Newcastle have been kind of left adrift at the bottom a little bit, but everybody else is strengthened. Everybody else looks better. And I did see earlier in the season, it was like, I think right after the World Cup, the attendances were down 10%. But, you know, if you adjust that for missing 3 teams, it's not a bad outlook at all. And all of like the big games, you know, when they hire out Tottenham or Twickenham or whatever for a big match, the crowds at those have been really, really healthy too. So it definitely feels, Premiership rugby is definitely feeling good at the moment.
Does the final get played at a neutral ground or at the team that finishes?
At Twickenham, yeah.
Twickenham, yeah.
Massive.
Yeah. Plus, you were on about attendance. Newcastle haven't won a game all season, and they had their biggest attendance in 6 years 2 weeks ago, sorry.
And Gloucester,
because they pulled it close to Leicester Tigers. And that's why people had some hope that they might win again. Got tickets for the next one.
But Gloucester get almost a full house every week.
Gloucester,
it's always busy. It's always busy.
I've been once to Kingsholm, and it was for the women's Premiership final back in June. It does help that Gloucester won the final, but rowdy bunch.
I have heard. I've heard it's a fun away day.
But I don't want to be in the family and friends. I know that sounds a bit strong. I was in the nice seats, but I want to be in the shed. I want to be with the diehards, the piss heads. I want it all. I want to soak up that action. But anyway, we could talk about that all day and what's on the bucket list and what's not. It's heating up in the URC as well. It's so ridiculous. The gap, I think it's 5th to 11th, is like 5 points, if that, I believe. It's super tight. Every game matters, yet again. Let's predict it. Starting on Friday night, I'll be there.
Just to add, like, it felt a bit tighter last weekend, right? But all the favourites kind of won the previous weekend or this weekend that just passed in terms of the rounds. So it looks a bit more comfortable now, but holy shit. The weekend before, ridiculous.
The weekend before was ridiculous, but still, some teams could still cause a star somewhere or other. But
of course.
Friday Night Lights, I'll be there loud and proud. I cannot wait to be back at the Hive. Edinburgh versus Zebre. Back your team as always. Edinburgh get a big comfy win and get into the top 8.
Yeah, I think they'll win.
Cool.
I've been very disappointed in Zebre after they've beat the Sharks team. Now, obviously, it's not the strongest Sharks team, but we kind of hyped up Zebre a bit more. They looked a bit more fluent. They looked like a team that could have caused maybe 2 or 3 upsets throughout this tournament, but they've just gone back to same old Zebre. So Edinburgh comfortable.
I'll take that. Dragons versus Stormers. Dragons are woeful.
Going to be Stormers.
Yeah.
I'm actually a bit afraid, boys. Like this Stormers team can go out and beat prime 2011 All Blacks, but lose to Leinster's E team. That is how up and down we are. Like I'm not gonna lie, I love the Stormers. Okay, I'm very cocky about it, but goodness gracious, But goodness gracious, the last 5 games, it's like watching with bleach in my eyes. Watching that Ospreys game felt like an absolute nightmare. That was ridiculous. But obviously, we don't even travel well. We lost to Cardiff on the road. That just tells you everything that you need to know.
Yeah,
But
Will you bring
drama.
a full squad? Like, are you going to be fully loaded?
Yeah, because every game matters. Obviously,
Yeah.
we are on the road now against them, and then Connacht as well, which is a massive game.
Yeah.
So we'll probably want to settle everything, get it done and dusted, and then obviously the last weekend we are playing the Lions at home, which will be a massive clash. But you want to, like, because the Lions will be up for it, and that can go either way because it's a home derby. We would want to have our place cemented there in these two. So you send your strongest team. We've been fuffing around with these rotated teams. I'm not for it anymore. This is business end. Play your strongest team. If you get injuries, well, if he dies, he dies. Okay, just play your strongest team.
Proper Ivan Drago, I love it.
Yeah.
On to the Saturday, Bulls hosting the Glasgow Warriors. I know we said the Sharks there, but that's the next game. Bulls versus Glasgow Warriors. Top of the table, Glasgow. They'll go full whack. They want to cement their top place. It's not easy in Loftus, though, is it?
You don't beat the Bulls at Loftus. I know they lost against Munster.
I was going to say
Munster is
do.
sensational
Munster
traveling
do.
to South Africa, by the way.
Yeah.
The Bulls don't lose to anyone except Munster. Munster also beat us at Cape Town Stadium. They just love a little travel. Okay, look,
I think we joked about that last week. The Munster just don't fear going to South Africa. Let's go for it. Why not?
The only side in the world. Like, the All Blacks are scared to go to South Africa. Ireland is scared to go to South Africa, but not Munster.
Not Munster.
Isn't Munster's away record better than their home record this season?
It might be.
They are ridiculous on the road. But I don't see... Glasgow should have lost to the Sharks. And with that second half performance, they should have easily lost that game. They're not beating the Bulls. Bulls, obviously, they know everything that they have to play for. It's rugby heritage that they get their home playoffs, win the games that matter. Close game, but I'm going Bulls to win it by like 6 points.
I think it'll be close for an hour. And then I think the Bulls will probably run away with it.
Yeah, I can see. I'll go Bulls as well. I can't.
So we're all saying the boys at the top are losing their games.
Just because it's just not easy winning in South Africa.
It's so difficult.
Yes, Glasgow are very impressive. I just don't think they're at that level yet.
I think
that's the best way I could say
the
that.
number one attribute you need to go and win games there is grunt. That's the main thing you need. You've got to be able to hang tough when the game's not going your way. You've just got to be able to stay in the fight. And I don't think Glasgow have that. Not the way Munster do, anyway.
That's a fair. Sticking with South Africa though, Sharks finalists taking on the semi-finalists that got beat, Benetton. Now, I need the Sharks to win. From a purely selfish point of view, from an Edinburgh point of view, I need the Sharks to win this because Benetton's like a point above us. So get them out, Edinburgh take their place, and then I'm happy. Selfish reasons this week.
I've got the Sharks to lose. Definitely not.
Why are you hurting me? What did I do to you?
They're not going to play their strongest team.
I don't care.
Benetton will not allow themselves to be fourth in the URC and then drop out of playoff positions. That would be
happened to us. It literally happened to us. That's exactly what happened.
That's you. Benetton will have a different mindset. They'll know they just lost to Gloucester. Sharks will play a rotated team because the Sharks haven't played their strongest team for a while in the URC because they just focused on the Challenge Cup. So Benetton to win this game. Tight game because obviously it's still in Durban. Still nice little bit of altitude. But yeah, Benetton. I'm going with Benetton. 3 points.
I need the Sharks to win. Andy?
I could see them. I could see this being a horrendous game. I could see both of them being terrible.
Just really shit.
Yeah, well, losing to Gloucester will have completely taken the wind out of Benetton. So I don't think they expected to get worked over like that. But you're right with the Sharks. It's just they're not going to pick the big names. So they've been terrible in the URC when they haven't picked the big. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm going to say Benetton to have a famous win. Why not?
On this week, the minute we had a South African and Andy doesn't agree with me, that's fine. I'll remember that one. Back in the Northern Hemisphere, Scarlets taking on Ulster. Ulster?
Yeah,
Maybe?
probably. Yeah,
I,
probably.
I don't know. I really don't. Because Ulster have
They've been
been
a
really up and
shambles.
down.
They have.
Yeah,
It'll be unconvincing. If they do manage to win, it'll be unconvincing.
will be pretty by any means.
Yeah, I think they'll just about have enough to get it done, though.
Mm.
Yeah, they still have something to play for, so that
Yeah.
would probably get them over the line. I do admire Scarlets for the fight they put up, for instance, against Edinburgh in that first half. So it's not impossible for them to win that game. Obviously, they're playing at home as well.
Mm.
But it just feels like Ulster, they've been there, they've done it before, as we just mentioned. They'll probably scrape over the line with a worse performance than whoever wins between Benetton and Sharks, because they have been shocking, but they somehow still get it done. Because how they beat Benetton the other weekend, I was like,
Yeah.
where's that just come from?
Yeah. I thought they'd lose that game for sure.
Yeah, so
But they do, yeah. There's enough of the old Ulster yet. I think they'll just about get through.
Fair enough. Big Irish derby, Munster versus Connacht. Tasty, but
But Munster.
it's in Cork, so yeah, Munster.
I think as well, you can feel it from like Munster fans and from like ex-players and punditry and stuff. They're starting to believe they're going to do it again. Like they're getting that feeling. It feels like last season, right? They came on strong at the end of the season. It feels like that again, and I reckon that the playing group will be really confident. I reckon they beat Connacht pretty easily.
Yeah.
yeah, Murray, you'd probably be watching this game very closely, because obviously you're just 1 point behind Connacht and they're in sixth position. So if they go on and lose this game and you guys get a win, especially a bonus point win, that would be absolutely massive. That puts you 4 points above them. Points difference comes into play. Like, you have to put a stamp of authority on your game against Zebra.
Absolutely, yeah. It sucks because I actually have a soft spot for Connacht. I actually like them. It's just this
I think
time
everyone does. They're like
No.
they're the small province, right? They're the scrappy ones. They have way less money. Fan base is small because of where they are. And they play a lovely brand. Really nice brand of rugby.
The link to me supporting Connacht, they're my Irish team. That's how I put it. Is stupid because I watched them win the league at Murrayfield. So I started there, and then being a podcast host, interviewing Matt Hansen, interviewing Byron Ralston, having drinks with Pete Dooley. Yeah, I've got like a really soft spot for them. I've had drinks with 2 out of 3 of them.
Well, sorry to say, mate, they're going to lose.
That's fine. I'm good with it. My team comes first. Team over friends right now. Sorry, boys, if you're listening. But yeah, no, I need Edinburgh in the playoffs. Back to South Africa. Lions versus Cardiff. Lions are going to have a field day because they have all the altitude.
Yeah.
And Cardiff aren't great.
The only reason Cardiff are where they are at the moment is because of Tennis de Bruin. That guy has been sensational at 10. Wow.
5 minutes we had without him mentioning a South African player. Okay.
Yeah, no, but just you have to admire it, because last season he played at the Pumas in the Currie Cup.
Yeah.
No profession, like, it's a professional team, but they just play in the Currie Cup. And from there, he's gone to Cardiff and really, like, the big talk is between him and Masuku for that Welsh game. So I have to put respect on his name, but the Lions will have a field day. The Lions still in the mix. They know every single point matters at the moment. They can't slip up to any degree. So yeah, Lions by 16.
Well, yeah, that's a fair score. And last, I don't see the point in even asking. Leinster versus Ospreys. Leinster with big win. What do you do? There we go. Done.
Yep.
It's fun.
Well, what team do you think they put out there?
Does it matter?
Yes, because
without being rude, at home,
it'll be a relatively strong team. It won't be like a.
If Leinster manages to drop more points, all of a sudden they really scrape. They have to fight to get into home playoff games, and that's the one thing that they want to.
3 games left, right? They've got Ospreys, and then they've got 2 interpros. I think it's Ulster and Connacht.
Yes,
but either way, you do not want
Ulster
it hanging.
beat them the previous time.
You don't want it hanging on a game against an Irish opponent, because like the form book kind of goes out the window. You know, sometimes those games are just crazy. So the one thing they absolutely need to do is bonus point win against the Ospreys. So I think they'll pick a pretty strong team.
Yeah. Just secure it.
Yeah. You have to.
Because
So
even if they were to end in third or fourth, all of a sudden they don't have the home final, they don't have the home semi-final, and then it gets really, really tough. Because then let's say, because at the moment it's Bulls and Stormers playing for fourth and fifth. So we're either playing at Loftus or we're playing in Cape Town. And then from there it's just gonna be away games. And let's say for some way the Bulls pip Leinster because they dropped more points. Leinster doesn't want to come to Loftus and play against the Bulls. Full strength Bulls, Leinster with a little bit of a voodoo over them. I know Leinster butchered
and a Champions Cup final to think about, like on the horizon. Like
deja vu of 2022.
Exactly. You do not want those games at all. Although when we lost in 2022, we were at home. But yeah.
Yeah, Leinster for the win. Going to quickly go over to the Southern Hemisphere. I'm just going to rattle this off really quickly, boys. Week 11 of Super Rugby did not disappoint because it never does. It's just fun rugby at the end of the day. Hurricanes back on track. Comfortable win over the Waratahs, 41-12. Yikes. Blues, another comfy win over the Rebels, 38 points to 11. Highlanders getting a win over Moana Pacifica, 28-17. The Reds beat the Woeful Crusaders this year, 33-28. Bit of controversy as referee and both linesmen were from Queensland. How do you let that happen? That's on. Yes, we were talking about the Carl Dixon controversy last week. That is on a whole different scale. That's. Oh, I'd be raging if I was a Crusaders fan.
Yeah, me too.
It was nice to see Lee Halfpenny make his Crusaders debut. A sentence I never thought I'd say, but there you go. Chiefs absolutely dominating the Western Force, 56-7. And Brumbies making Canberra an absolute fortress, 28-28 over the Fijian Drua. Let's predict week 12, just quickly, because why not? Moana Pacifica hosting the Chiefs, I believe is in Tonga. I want to say. I could be wrong.
Never. Oh, sorry. I thought they're playing Fijian Drua. Chiefs batter them.
Yeah, Chiefs are going to win that game.
Comfortable this season. Well, Australian derby. Reds versus Rebels. Reds are going to win because
they are the better team. And I don't know if how close you guys follow this, but I watch all of these games because I've always said if you want to get someone that doesn't watch rugby to watch rugby and you put on a tournament, give them Super Rugby. It's the most fun you'll have watching the most beautiful running rugby. And the thing about the Australian derbies is you never know who's going to win. Like you think, for instance, the Reds playing against the Force. The Force haven't won a game. They look absolute wank. And the Force put like 50 points on the Reds while the Reds were almost top of the table. That's the thing. Like I wouldn't be surprised if the Rebels pull something off. But yeah, I'm going to go with the Reds to actually do it.
Andy, or did you already say?
No, I was going to say the same thing. I feel like you don't know. Because especially the Australian teams, they've been all over the place this year. I don't follow it that closely, but I know that looking at the scores, you can't tell. You don't know what's going to happen. So, yeah, why not? For some fun, we'll go for an upset.
Oh, okay.
I like it. I like it. Andrew Gilloway's been insane.
Yeah, ridiculous.
The next
just before we go, just quickly, I want to ask you guys, do you guys both think that Australia will be as bad as everyone says? Because I don't believe it at all. Watching this Super Rugby with Joe Schmidt going there, you see some of the talent. Because the big thing about Eddie Jones is he didn't pick the right players. You look at the talent there, ridiculous, scary.
Didn't pick the right players and didn't do much coaching from the sounds of it. Like if you listen to what people involved in the camp were saying, yeah, I reckon the turnaround is going to be massive. Because Joe Schmidt doesn't ask you to do anything overly complicated. Like it's pretty simple. He'll put structures in place, all the basic stuff they were missing. Exactly. I reckon he's going to, they're not going to become like a top team overnight, but they're going to be a lot better than they were at the World Cup, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with that. It'll be interesting in the summer and the autumn anyway. But anyway, without a shadow of a doubt, the biggest game in Super Rugby this weekend, Blues versus Hurricanes. I'm going to say the Hurricanes just because they've had that extra level. not much in it. I think it's going to be a lot tighter than recent games, but Hurricanes are cooking, and I've actually got Clark Laidlaw as like my outside pick for Scotland head coach for 2026, I believe.
Okay.
Contract runs up. Just because he went over to New Zealand, he destroyed the Sevens, won a World Cup Sevens, won Commonwealth, didn't win the Olympics, but still got silver in the Olympics. So he will get teams far. He's cruising with the Hurricanes. Yeah, nice outside pick, I think. And he's part of like one of the most famous Scottish rugby families ever in the Laidlaws. So yeah, makes sense. But anyway, back to predictions.
Yeah, this game is very interesting because obviously both had massive bounce back victories. I know the Blues didn't lose to the Reds, but they should have lost that game against the Reds. And then just the stamp of authority they put over the Rebels. Rebels lucky to get to 11 points, in my opinion. Like the Blues played them out of the water. Hurricanes lost to the Brumbies. Massive upset victory that, by the way, that Hurricanes have been playing. And then Hurricanes came out. Let me just get the score. 41-12. Waratahs once again lucky to get 12 points. It's just been both of these teams feels like they've been so clinical. I don't see this being a high scoring game at all. I know all the Super Rugby games are high scoring, but every now and then you get one of those that are like for instance, Highlanders ended 7-6 or something. I see this game being like a 15-16 game to the Hurricanes. They're taking it at Blues Stadium, which is massive.
All right, I'm going against the grain. I've got the Blues. I think
He's going for the Blues.
Yeah.
I thought he hated
but I agree it's going to be an amazing game. Like,
yeah.
Can't wait to see that one.
Have you guys seen that eighth man of the Blues, Sotutu?
Oh, mate.
Sotutu is unreal.
And he's been about for a while as well.
Yeah.
He's been like, I sometimes think it's really good when you don't get too much international exposure too early. Like he hasn't played too many games for the All Blacks. Sometimes kids get thrown in before they're really ready. He's just been quietly getting better and better and better and better.
And Caleb Clark looks rejuvenated again. He wants that All Black jersey with Will Jordan out.
Sorry, I've just Googled Hoskin Sotutu. The big bastard is 2 days older than me. What I'm thinking, he is 2 days older than me, and he is an All Black. And I'm just sitting here talking absolute shit. Don't worry about it. Not jump for Paul. Yeah. Highlanders versus Crusaders. I don't know, because if you asked me this any year prior, Crusaders Crusaders are horrifically shit this year.
They've only been good at home.
Yeah,
and then they lost to the Reds.
They've been losing enough. Oh my god!
It's got to be Highlanders, isn't it? It's got to be.
I'm feeling Highlanders this year. Yeah,
it's just so funny. That's really what it is. I just want them to keep the Crusaders to keep losing. It's so funny that the most dominant team ever for the last however many years is just can't buy a win. I love it.
I'm gonna go with the Crusaders victory. I know they're at the bottom, but the Highlanders. I've really been backing the Highlanders, and they've really disappointed me from the start that they have and the drop off. And I don't think the Crusaders will allow themselves to lose to the likes of the Highlanders.
Maybe not.
Like, you can't beat the Chiefs and then lose to the Islanders.
I'm not. Say how stupid it is that in a 12-team league, 8 teams go to the playoffs.
It's mad.
That's so stupid.
And 6 of them go to the Club Rugby World Cup.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Christ. Okay. Anyway, Waratahs Brumbies. Yeah.
It's a derby. You never know.
I know. And Waratahs did beat the Crusaders.
But Brumbies are going to do it. I agree.
You mean just to throw a wrench in it? I'll go for the Taz.
He's going for all those shots tonight. I'm moving.
Because I have no idea what's going on in Super Rugby. It's flipping a coin.
But that's the thing about the Super Rugby. Like, Andy doesn't even watch it, and he's just going opposite to what we're saying, and all of it feels like valid decisions, valid choices. Because you look at some of the teams they've beat, and then look at some of the teams they've lost to, and it's like, how does that make sense? Like, my brain can't fathom it.
And that is why I have no affiliation to a Super Rugby team, because the emotion going into that would probably kill me. So I just get to sit back and watch the rugby. No affiliation. Just watch liquid rugby in its purest form. And the last game of round 12, Western Force, Fijian Drua. I'm backing the Drua because I like them. I'm a big fan.
I agree. It feels like the Force have been struggling against the teams that are like physically very dominant, and that's the one thing that the Drua are. Force have had a couple of games where they've really like stood out, and other games they've been really, really shit. Like it's never been like a decent performance. Like either brilliant or very bad. Yeah, I'm going with the Drua to do it. I think the Drua will take some momentum from the game that they had against. Oh, who did they play? The Brumbies, where they nearly made a brilliant comeback. So yeah.
Plus, I think Frank Slimani's back this week. I could be wrong. I know he got a hefty ban from his
already.
Is that not? How long was it? How long was the ban?
No, I think you're right. I think the ban was less than you would have thought for what he did.
I might be wrong.
Wasn't it? I think it was 6 weeks down to 4 or something like that, wasn't it?
Oh, he might be back then. I thought it was a.
He might be back. He might be back.
But you've still got Massey, Wasofa Massey, outside centre, who's an absolute talent, and Celestino Raval Tomada, one of my favourite wingers in the world right now. I just love him. I just want to give him a big hug. He just looks like that kind of guy you just want to chill out with. There, I said it. Doesn't matter now. It's out there now.
You don't have to catch him first.
No, I'm never getting a cuddle off him, man. Rugby news. Any news this week? I've got some. It's not massive, but it's going to rub some people the wrong way because it does involve Scotland.
Did you guys speak last weekend about Jemma?
Oh, about the comments on the podcast.
Yeah.
No, we didn't.
Oh, about the Ireland said, "See you boys in the final."
Yeah.
Yeah. What I think. Can I give my opinion about it?
Yeah, of course.
I think Jemma knows exactly what he's doing there. Obviously, that's taken wildly out of context. I think that was a heat of the moment. Like, it was a great game of rugby. That was a scintillating game of rugby. And it's like, great game. See you guys in the final. Just like mutual respect, right?
Yeah.
But Rassie phoned Jemma and said, listen, we've been showing everyone we watch videos and stuff, but we don't have footage at the moment. So say something very fucking controversial. And then off the ball's definitely going to react on it. And I'm going to take that footage and we're going to motivate ourselves. And that is exactly what happened. I'm telling you now.
I have to say, I know the off the ball guys have seen Chasing the Sun because they've talked about it. And at no point were they like, maybe we shouldn't wind them up so much. Like, maybe we shouldn't keep giving them ammunition for match week. But they dove.
Because they're not talking about it gets them views, gets the clicks.
Yeah, well, of course. But
I mean, money over everything.
But I do think you're right. I think like it's definitely like a respectful thing they were trying to say to the South African players. Like, just how is anyone else going to be better than the two of us just were? That's definitely what they mean when they say see you in the final.
Well, there's a question for you. What's getting put as more controversial? Is it the Irish lad saying to the box, see you in the final? Or is it Rico Ioane saying to Sexton, enjoy retirement? Which is worse? Because to me, both can be taken out of context.
We had it coming from Rico, though. Because there was a lot made about the stuff that Peter O'Mahony said to Sam Cane on the tour down there in New Zealand.
Who do you think you are? You're just a shit
New Zealand had like 18 months to come up with what they wanted to say back, so I'm not surprised.
2 words.
Guys, I love it. I love this little bit of banter. We talk about how to grow the sport and stuff, and I think this just shows a bit of personality, brings a bit of personal stuff into it. And it's not overboard like you get in, for instance, MMA, where they talk about people's wife and whatever, or their mom. But this, I feel like it's still healthy for the game, even though it's a bit taken out of context, some of this stuff. This is what we want. I don't want this media-trained press conferences where you just respect each other and stuff. Say what's on your mind. Say that you're ready to the guys. Get your fans and your country and stuff fired up for these games. So I'm all for it. Like, how Eben said it or whatever, I don't care. I just know it's got people talking, and I want hype for this Irish tour because it's massive. It's absolutely massive.
Well, I mean, I'm not Irish, I'm not South African, and I am buzzing to watch you boys just batter the shit out of each other over the summer. But yeah, the only news I've got this week is Mosese Tuipulotu, younger brother of Sione Tuipulotu,
for
for Edinburgh. 2-year deal, and people are like, "Oh, can you not get your own players? We've got our own players. Shut the fuck up. I'm bored of it now." It's old news. I hear it all the time. Everyone does it. Maybe not South Africa because they are the talent pool for the world. So thank you for that, Divan. But yeah, great signing. 22 years old, 23 years old. Sorry, 102 kilos, 6 foot tall. Plays both inside and outside centre. Instantly eligible for Scotland. Why not? If he's there and that's in the rules, use it. That's how I see it. And I always say this, and about any country, if one of the foreigners score a match winner, whether that be in the Six Nations, World Cup, and you win that trophy, does anyone actually care that they're not from that country? No. Nobody gives a shit.
We do.
Yeah.
Because we have the pride of saying, listen, it's just South Africans. That's the big thing. We see Duan van der Merwe as treacherous. Same with Pierre Schoeman. Stay there. You're not a Safa anymore.
They're ours now. Dwayne and Peter. There you go. Ours now.
Schumann.
Schumann. Mick Schumann.
Mick Schumann. I like that.
Mick Schumann. But yeah, it doesn't bother me. Great talent. Long term, I think, having him there and having his brother, there's already fighting talk. Masisi did his first interview today and he went, I can't wait to come across. Obviously, seeing Sione on the other side is going to be interesting and I'll expose him. Straight away, I'm like, yeah, Edinburgh, Glasgow in the winter is going to be great because you've already got that sibling rivalry. And he's not even touched the ball yet. But yeah, that's been the rugby world. We've had the semi-finals. We're going to have juicy finals at the end of the month. We've still got domestic rugby for the next 2 weeks that is all to play for. Actually, just before we sign off, shout out to Argentina men's for winning the HSB World 7 Series for the first time ever. Well done them. And the Black Ferns back on winning ways, getting 7s for the girls as well. Unreal, awesome, can't wait for the Olympics. Andy, always been a pleasure.
As always, mate.
Welcome to Rugby Connection.
Thank you.
And we're on YouTube, we're on Spotify, Instagram, LinkedIn. Give Divan a follow on TikTok, he is CasualBias Rugby. Give Andy a follow on TikTok, he is Rugby Naz. And if you like what I do, follow me as well. I am at Blissful Rugby HQ. And until next week, see you later.